Why don't planes fly over the Himalayas? In the last century of aviation, airplanes have advanced significantly. It's hard to believe that the Atlantic Ocean or the continent of North America was once an impassable barrier and that today plane routes travel all over the world without a second thought. A few places on Earth, including the Himalayas, are still off-limits to airplanes. While some aircraft do operate in this area, most aircraft avoid flying above the Himalayas due to the mountain's sheer height. Mount Everest and other Himalayan peaks must be flown over at heights that are dangerous for both aircraft and the people inside of them. The following explains why airplanes don't pass over the Himalayas. Why can't flights pass through the Himalayas? The Himalayas are the world's tallest mountain range. This range has 9 of the 10 tallest mountains in the world. Numerous additional structures are 24,000 feet or taller, with Mount Everest being the tallest at 29,032 feet. When an aircraft reaches cruising level, which is located somewhere in the lower stratosphere, it typically flies at an altitude of 33,000 to 42,000 feet. This typically places the aircraft in a safety zone that is high above the Earth and even above the majority of turbulence patterns. To safely pass over the mountains and keep clear of weather and turbulence patterns when flying over the Himalayas, the aircraft would need to climb to a considerably higher height. A lot of commercial aircraft, especially bigger jetliners, are simply unable to fly at the heights required to safely cross the Himalayas. Even aircraft that are physically capable of doing so avoid doing so since ascending to such heights involves hazards. For instance, the likelihood of the jet fuel freezing increases with altitude because the ambient temperature drops as you ascend higher in the atmosphere. Is it safe to fly over the Himalayas? The majority of commercial airlines avoid this route even though aircraft are physically capable of reaching the height needed to cross over the Himalayas because the potential risk to passengers is not worth it. The oxygen outdoors is low when planes ascend into the stratosphere to pass over the Himalayas. This indicates that the loss of oxygen and air pressure in the cabin is more frequent. Although oxygen masks are provided in modern aircraft cabins, the oxygen supply is constrained, and the pilot has just a short window of time to descend to 10,000 feet so that passengers can breathe safely. It is impossible to descend to 10,000 feet when flying over a mountain range where the land is at a height of 20,000 feet or more. Even if the cabin doesn't depressurize, there are still issues associated with flying in low oxygen environments. Because there is less oxygen in the air, there is greater turbulence and wind than in other places of the planet. In actuality, clear air turbulence, the FAA's top cause of injuries while in the air due to its near impossibility to detect on radar, tends to occur over tall mountain ranges. Over the Himalayas, these turbulence patches occur frequently. Because frequent flying hazards are more numerous in this area and pilots have very limited options in the event of an emergency, most commercial aircraft avoid flying over the Himalayas. There aren't many flat areas in the Himalayas where pilots may make an emergency landing. For the safety of the passengers, it is sometimes advisable to forego an aviation route even though it is feasible. Does that mean no planes fly over the Himalayas? There are still flights over the Himalayas, despite the fact that most airlines strive to avoid doing so if possible. After all, some cities, like Kathmandu and Lhasa, have airports despite being entirely encircled by the Himalayas. Simply put, it means that regional flights serving the region rather than international long-haul flights generally avoid flying directly over the Himalayas. Over the Himalayas, military and surveillance aircraft are frequently seen. The mountain range, which spans a sizable portion of the boundary between India and China, has recently seen border clashes between the two nations. Both frequently carry out military training and surveillance over the Himalayas. In fact, avoiding the area is another reason why commercial airlines do so, they don't want to become involved in a conflict. Are there supernatural reasons why planes avoid the Himalayas? Some people claim that supernatural factors, such as unique force fields or animals like the Yeti, are to blame for why airplanes can't fly over the Himalayas. These assertions, however, are comically wrong. Although it is possible for planes to fly over the mountain range, airlines often avoid the area because it is neither practical nor safe to do so.